Hi there! I'm a hobbyist indie game developer and currently I'm working on a village building and simulation game, which honestly was a dream of mine for many years. It's still in a prototyping stage, when I'm laying down all the required mechanics and systems and categorizing all the entities and their interactions. Let me show you what I've done since the last devlog. For some reason, I got really tired of these chunky temporary human models, so I decided to try and make a proper model instead. I was particularly inspired by Lacruzzo and his amazing low-poly character tutorial. A few hours of pulling vertices around, and I ended up with this model. It is clearly far from perfect, but it's simple enough and seems to fit the general simplistic visual style I'm going for. There are no eyes or other facial features right now, and to be honest I'm not even sure if I need them. Maybe I'll add some facial hair later though. Also, right now the hair and the clothing are part of the model itself, but of course later they'll become separate models, so that I can have lots of appearance variation. In fact, I'm planning to make clothing a huge and important part of the game, but that will come a bit later. Making a model is only the beginning though, because now I need to rig and animate it. For rigging I made a very simple bone structure and used Blender's automatic bone weights for the most part. My first attempt at a walking animation was a little bit goofy, but my second attempt turned out to be alright. A crucial thing was to synchronize the animation with the actual villager's walking speed. Then I proceeded to add in animations for all the other actions that currently exist in the game. It's good to start doing this early, when there still aren't too many possible actions in need of animations. Of course, now it means that for each new action, I'll have to add some new animation, but that's much easier than adding hundreds of animations in one go. Now, animations don't only mean transforming the villager model itself. For example, I made the carrot instrument get attached to the right hand of the villager, and it naturally gets animated as well. At first, I used the hand bone itself for this, but then I added two special bones specifically for carrying items, which is useful for example in this tree chopping animation. Each instrument can also have some custom offsets here. For example, carrying a saw like this is a bit better than like this. Of course, carrying wooden logs with this system doesn't make much sense, and in the future I'll probably add some special animations for carrying certain objects, like carrying a log on your shoulder. Enough for animations, let's get to some actual gameplay content. One of my short-term goals is to be able to build a campfire that the villagers will use to cook some basic food. Huge wooden logs aren't great for a small campfire, so we need to split them into smaller firewood pieces. And for that we need a workstation. I'm using the word workstation to mean any static object in the game that can be used to perform some work using it, typically to craft something. A generalized crafting table, if you wish. In the case of splitting logs into firewood, a workstation would be just a special log or stump placed somewhere. However, I wanted to try something different and allow the player to use existing tree stumps for that purpose. So I added all the workstation and crafting related systems in the code, wired them together, and now I can click on a tree stump to order making firewood on it. Oh, and I added some animations for resource spawning, just for some game juice. By the way, these firewood items are a bit special. The coloring actually depends on the material they're made of, specifically the tree type. This is something I've been planning to do long before I even started working on this project. The raw firewood model actually looks like this, and the game applies a special material-dependent color transformation matrix to get the final object color. Then I remembered that in this project I wanted to start working on the audio quite early. I remembered that largely thanks to my online friend who is always extremely helpful and supportive about my projects, for which I'm immensely thankful. My usual audio workflow would be to simply add all the sounds and music in the very end of development. This is of course bad, for a number of reasons. Sound isn't just a decoration, it is an essential part of communication between the game and the player. I'm using my own audio mixing library, which I'm actually quite proud of, and I have a blog post discussing the design of this library. I'll leave a link to it in the video description. So I grabbed a bunch of attribution-free sounds from freesound.org, tweaked them to my liking using Audacity, implemented proper 3D sound support in the game, et voila! I just love how animations and sounds make this tiny prototype feel so much more alive. Okay, this was once again a distraction, albeit an important one, from actual gameplay content. I finally made it possible to construct campfires, which was quite easy since I already had the construction system for the hay beddings. Then I implemented gathering mushrooms and also gathering sticks from the fallen trees. I also made the forest floor filled with sticks, tree stumps and occasional logs. This serves multiple purposes. It makes the forest look more interesting and varied, and at the same time makes the early game easier. A campfire is also a type of workstation, and I can finally order roasting some mushrooms over it, using a stick as an instrument. That's actually an important little milestone for this project. This is the first real food item that the villagers can craft from scratch. Though they have no idea how to eat the food yet, since the villagers don't have any needs right now. That's what I decided to work on next, specifically the need to sleep, which for now is indicated by a blue bar on top of each villager. I made it so that the villagers can stay awake for a bit longer than a full day before passing out, but of course they try to go to sleep long before this happens. There is some randomness in when exactly they decide to go to sleep, but I figured a nice and simple system that naturally shifts their sleeping schedule towards sleeping mostly at night. For the randomness, I used something called Gibbs distribution from statistical physics, which was also used for AI decision making in some of the Sims games. And that's all I've got for you today. I still need to implement the other villager needs like food and energy. I'll need to increase the food variety, probably start growing some crops, and maybe even start building some simple houses. And I'll definitely need some basic UI, because right now my whole keyboard is mapped to some random actions in the game. As usual, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in this project, and I'll see you in the next devlog.